I guess this is going, so I'm gonna probably be playing quite a few of these over the next, I don't know, well, we'll see, maybe I'll get into it and I'll keep playing them, but a couple weeks ago I decided I was gonna play a lot of these Super Mario World ROM hacks. I've been watching a lot of it on stream since, you know, the pandemic and everything. It's just kind of a fun way to kill some time during the day, and I wanted to try it. So I've been playing this hack and a couple of other training hacks for, I don't know, a couple weeks now, and I wanted to start recording them and just seeing how I progress through these. So I'm gonna try to get through this one. Hopefully it'll take about an hour, maybe a little bit more. And then I'll just keep running. So we'll make videos of each one. I don't think I'll probably do a lot of editing, and then I just want to post it up and see how it goes. So anyways, here we go. It's funny, you can actually control a character on the title screen here. I found that out the other day. I actually tried to record this once before and it didn't really work out. But we'll try it again. Hopefully I'll get the whole thing this time and see how it goes. I'll probably explain these just as I'm going through. For the more normal hacks, the fun stuff, I'll just kind of explain how I'm going through my thought process. And for these, obviously, it's just kind of training, so some of the tricks are fun, some of them are not so fun. This is literally just a run to the exit. If you don't do it fast enough, obviously those blocks will go away and you die. But just a quick little starter to get us through. I was a little worried I wasn't able to do it. For all of these, I am going to try to 100% everything. Just make sure that I'm doing all of the tricks, all of the levels, everything, to the best of my ability. Some of these I might just literally not be able to do. I'm getting older, my reflexes are not as good, so we'll see how it goes. There's just a simple tutorial on jumping. Big jump, very small jump. So re-grabs, I've heard, is a very critical skill to learn, and basically you jump and then release the button, and then push it again before you land, or before you hit something, and it will kind of slow your fall. So while you're holding the button down, you don't fall as fast. I am pushing it so early there. There we go. And then you can hold it and get extra hops off the second bounces and stuff like that. So sometimes it's kind of important to be holding the button or not holding the button at certain times, just to make sure that you get the proper bounces. Okay, so these you have to be holding down jump, otherwise you fall right in. Again, it's if you're holding down jump, you fall a little bit slower. So and the same thing happens even if you're sliding. Want to make sure not to break those blocks on the right. I did that the first time and I wasn't thinking, and you just walk right off the edge and die instead of winning the level. So, starting off, obviously, with the really easy stuff. The later tricks, the later, whatever you want to call them, are much harder. Chuck Gates is kind of a fun little Kaizo thing. So this is just all about timing, which I don't have, obviously. I want to make sure that you're holding the jump button is kind of the key thing, otherwise you fall in anyway and die. I don't know why I'm not doing this right now. So, and the nice thing about these hacks is that they all have message boxes on every level, kind of explaining the trick and what to do. I don't know why I'm just blanking this. I'm trying to think about too much right now. Yeah, that's more like it. So the reverse one, with them jumping up like this, is actually pretty easy usually. As long as you can time it properly, it's fine. The other one is really tricky because you actually have to make them jump. So, have a little bit of speed and a little bit of momentum. Yeah, so these, he jumps if you're in the air. So trying to get him to kind of bait him into jumping like that so you can run under him is pretty tricky. So more jumping. This is pretty cool stuff. So the Rexes, you can jump off them twice. You're supposed to be able to jump off them twice if you can actually control yourself. Yeah, that's good. Just kind of teaching the jump tricks off of these and timing. And then you've got the rhinos and baby rhinos. Got a little bullet bill right there. So I have played this level, or this hack, quite a bit. So most of these will be pretty easy, hopefully. But later on, I think I'll play a couple of hacks where I've played it, you know, a few times through, and then I'll get into stuff and just play it blind and see how it goes. So bubble jumping, this is kind of fun one. So the second Goomba slows you down as you hit him, so you can actually jump off the first one. And then here, as long as you have the Goomba in your hand, when you jump, and you can watch his legs, he kind of speeds up, and then yeah, you jump right off of him. Apparently a lot of this stuff is actually just super, like vanilla Super Mario World. You can do this in the actual Super Mario World game, and, you know, people just found funny ways to break the game or do stupid things, and now a lot of these hacks rely on all of that stuff. So slopes are pretty fun. You keep your momentum in the air as long as you're not touching a direction. So you basically just run your way down the slope and then stop holding anything in the air, and you'll keep running. Keys you can pick up while you're sliding, but you can't hold it and start a slide. And then this, you can actually crouch to, you know, slide, and then keep your slide all the way through. If you hold down B or A, the jump buttons, after you finish sliding, then you'll actually end up jumping with the slide. So most of those are just training, you know, the simple things, and then they have little tests at the end of each of the rows. And these just kind of string a bunch of the tricks together, so pretty fun. This is one of the easier ones. It's just getting that first jump for me, for some reason. Oh, and then there's the chuck gate, too. For me, questionable whether or not I'll actually get through it. And then this, I usually just wait. I don't know why I kind of chicken out. Don't really time things properly unless I have it coming towards me. I'm sure you can do it on that first cycle, like right there, but I don't know why. This just seems easier to me, so. So that's basically how the hack is going to run. Hopefully I can get through these. I know the earlier stuff isn't really super exciting, but there's definitely a few levels, even in this one, that really look cool to execute. Shell jumps are great. Well, if I could do one. There we go. The later stuff, hopefully I'm able to do some of the later stuff. Double shell jumps are, it's sort of, I don't know, for me, it just sort of didn't work, and then it sort of clicked, and I can't do them consistently, but I can do them at least once out of every few tries, so pretty fun. All the little platforms that were in the main game. So these are really janky to try to deal with sometimes, and apparently they get stuck in the wall, which is fun. Rotating platforms are good. Just all the simple basics, right? Just all the stuff that you'll see often and other hacks. I've watched a ton of them, you know, all the stuff that we didn't really took for granted, I guess, in the main game. Yeah, these time platforms are awesome. Ah, yeah. Wow. Yep. Timing. Third time's the charm. This is always so awkward, because if you don't get the timing right, it basically just sucks you down. So, trying to start running before it actually falls, so you get a little bit of momentum. If you jump too late, it doesn't even, your jump gets eaten and you get sucked down and die. If you jump too early, obviously the munchers are there for that reason. But I found I watch a lot of these tricks, and some of it didn't look too hard, some of it looked really hard, and it's kind of arbitrary as to what actually is hard. Some of the stuff you just sort of, like, as soon as you're doing it, it's really not so bad. But as you watch it, it's crazy to watch. And some of the stuff that you don't even realize, things like that, the jumping and jumping off of these bullet bills, it just, yeah, it seems kind of not arbitrary, but a lot different when you're actually doing it as opposed to watching it. Okay, so the cannon, if you get launched out of a cannon, you're holding down jump. You actually can retain speed. So if you push a button, just like I did there, you actually lose all of your momentum. So just with like every other jump, while you're holding down jump, you fall slower, and in this case, you get a lot more distance. So if you don't push anything, you get to keep all your speed, and you can make a big jump on the second one. I keep looking over this. My stream is over here. I need to make sure that everything's recording. I had some issues on the first one, so I'll try to stop. just focus on the game. Ah, the fishing boo. So these you can spin jump off of, but they're really kind of awkward to... I had it there, but they're kind of awkward to time, and they don't really quite go with you 100% speed-wise. So it can be kind of awkward to ride them like that. I found that spin jumping off of stuff is really fun. I didn't realize how tricky that might be. I will say disco shells are just exactly hard as they look. So here you just on-off switches, and you control yourself on that first one. You accidentally hit it and then run over, you fall off of it. And I totally did. So that's about all the platforms. I think this one's pretty straightforward. Yeah, there's like maybe one kind of tricky jump here in a second. So this one I've always hated. And actually, these are surprisingly touchy as well. You land fully on those platforms and you end up hitting the blocks, the death blocks next to them. That wasn't too bad. So spinning with objects is fun. If you throw the object up and then start a spin jump and grab it while you're in the air, you can keep spinning while you're holding it. And in that case, we needed the key to go across. I don't usually do that one first try. This is really tricky because if you don't jump very, very late, you end up falling in the lava. The rest of these, for some reason, are very easy. So I just end up holding the button down for most of these. So you spin and then just kind of walk your way across either blocks or enemies or whatever you're hitting. That's good. So this is basically just a timing thing again. You're trying to do the same thing as the last level. Bounce off of the spikes, but in that case it will stop for you. In this case it doesn't. So it's all just timing it so you hit it properly. I did play a ton of Rock Band. I was a musician forever, so timing should be good. Most of the time I'm okay at it, but for some reason in this game sometimes it just gets weird. This is an interesting one where you have to trigger the thwomp to fall, but also kind of hold up your momentum so that you don't actually run into him. So you can bounce off of them. And it's a lot of fun doing those after a bunch of other jumps or other spin jumps or something off of other enemies. So I think I get to do that a couple of times later. And I do confuse some of these, so I was playing Learn2Kaizo as well. This is the second one. I found this game to be more fun. Most of these levels are pretty easy, and they explain the tricks really well. The other one, there's a couple of tricks that aren't very well explained, and it's tricky. But it's a lot of the same stuff, so I'll do that one probably next and get through it. The other nice thing about this, if you're really just starting, you can actually skip over levels. So if you just really don't get one of the tricks, all of these levels are accessible at any time. You do have to do the far left before you can move on to the next, but if you just kind of get stuck on one and want to move to something else, you absolutely can and learn new tricks. So that's a cool one, throwing the spring against the wall and then jumping off of it, so pretty fun. They're very mean on that one. It's a very high jump. Sometimes you don't get jumps that are quite that high, and then to put the muncher at the top was really neat. But forces you to learn it, so, you know, a lot of these are really quick and easy, so if you just dire, you can start over, try again. Oh, shoot. So this is the culmination, so throw the spring, bounce off the torpedo head there, and keep it with you. Oh man, I transferred Y to X right there so fast that it didn't even throw. Yeah, again. Fun. And I have to switch up. There we go. Oh. Yeah, I will notice, or I'll say that the one thing that I noticed was I always thought you could just kind of hold right and, you know, your speed would match a lot of these, but really you end up kind of adjusting a lot. So forward, back to make sure that you're in time with everything else. Sometimes I get stuck on that one. It's super high jump. And this is the same way. So you're forward, back a lot to match your speed and get right nicely in time with everything. Otherwise, you're either flying over whatever you're trying to bounce off of or just coming up short. So there's 7 sections and then a specific cape section and a specific shell section. And I think the cape and the shell are by far my most favorite on this. They're a lot of fun to do. And also, I think a lot of fun to watch. They're really cool little tricks. Yeah, that's... So, I think you can do that and get him to plow through this without stopping and still catch up to him and jump. But I find it easier just to have him break these blocks barely. Set up for the jump. And you can get across pretty easily this way, but there is a section at the far right. I believe there's probably a move back there. I'm not sure how to get the chuck all the way across. It must be, you know, letting him through and then jumping after him. So this you're just been jumping off the rocks, and you can get up there and get the moon if you're better than I am. Timing on the footballs, and then the baseballs. This has always been a little bit awkward because you're trying to get him to go up before he throws, and then run under him. So that seemed to work out well, but sometimes I die a couple times on that. Chucks are pretty fun. They're usually used like bosses in a lot of places, but obviously with not the normal mechanics. You often use them to jump off, and it doesn't really matter if you jump normally or jump with a spin jump. It will do the same thing. So these are all the fish, but not when, you know, fish are normally in the water in Super Mario World, but here this is all the fish that are out of the water and how they react. I think jumping off the fish, spin jumping off these fish are really fun. So this is the perfect example. If I'm just holding right, I easily fall off and die. But if you don't control it well and you kind of push back too far, then he slows down too much, and then you don't get a nice acceleration to the right where you need to get to the orb. Oh man, beans, green beans are so much fun. So this is vines. If you're holding up while you jump here, you actually just re-grab the vine. So I kind of can show that a couple times. I didn't realize you can get there. And you need to stop holding up, otherwise you will re-grab instead of jumping into those blocks and then basically get stuck there. So, precision green beans. Cool. Green beans are fun. So if you end up jumping before you jump into the green bean, instead of just hopping on it a couple of times, it's a different level of bounce. So kind of controlling that can be tricky. And these guys are pretty hard to jump off of. You have to really time it properly and get it properly. And these you can kick along. Every time you kick it horizontally, it resets their timer, I think is what that message box was saying. So get it out of there. And this guy, you want to actually spin jump off of it when it explodes. So again, just a big timing thing, right? Make sure that you're jumping on it right when it explodes. I'm hoping that these training hacks are... I'm going to start with a lot of the very beginner Kaizo hacks. So I'm hoping that a lot of these are harder than some of the beginner stuff, so I can really enjoy them and just kind of plow through them and see a lot of things. but we'll see. So in this case, we want to jump on the left-hand side of this Koopa, which I did not do, so that he goes to the right, and we can use it as the third jump. But the little fence, I think is normally a fence, is an interesting thing because you actually, a lot of objects just stick to it. So you'll see a lot of things just kind of slide across. It's in that falling state. And I've seen it in a lot of hacks that gets used pretty extensively. Yeah, so things like this. I could probably go a lot faster, but I'll just take it easy and slow. Pretty sure that P-switch music is just the music for the level. I don't think it's ever going to end and kill me or anything. And then you can actually do a key jump right there. Once you learn how to do the key jumps, which is actually later on, but... So that was a pretty short little section. I think it was random stuff, yeah. So this is the random test. Start off with a nice big... Oh, okay. Get the timing wrong and you die. It seems like the amount of time you can jump off of this is actually really small too, so if you jump too late like that, you end up just flying right through it. So you really need to time it so that you're already in the air by the time it explodes. Otherwise, yeah, it just kills you. And then these green beans are tricky, so like I said, if you kind of time it on the first bounce, it's a little bit different than if you have to jump again. So just two different places on the green beans you want to be. So, doing pretty good. 21 minutes, not too bad. Oh, I forgot to start my timer, but oh well. I'll use the recording timer, I guess, for the total time on this hack. So this, if you push grab and jump at the same time, you end up grabbing the block as you're jumping. It's frame perfect, but you get to choose when. And I found that it's actually, for me, probably my thumb. If I push jump slightly before I'm pushing grab, it seems like it works out a little bit better for me. Maybe it's just the controller, or maybe just my thumb, the way it ends up pushing the buttons down. So 2 sprites. This has always been awkward for me. Trying to throw it and then get across to it. And if that shell hits any of these little yellow fence donut things, it actually dies. You can go through them just fine, but it dies, so just like that. And then this level was showing you can actually set these up together. And then if you run and slide into them, you can actually grab both. So, just like that. And then, hopefully, don't hit the yellow so it kills them. And then once you grab the key out from under the P-switch, it hits the P-switch and you can go ahead and use the key. So I think this is all the key jumping. Yeah, so same kind of idea as the block. If you grab both buttons at the same time, it'll actually allow you to jump and pick the key up at the same time. There. And then you can do the same thing with spin jumps, and it will start spinning. So, kind of cool. You can still jump off of enemies while you're holding the key. And then this trick, throw it the right way. This trick is just kind of controlling it. There we go. And then you can jump off of the key and throw it down, land on it again, and jump off it again to get down to that keyhole. So. This really probably isn't as hard as I'm making it look right now. Pushing both buttons simultaneously should be pretty easy. I don't know why, but with this specific controller, I've noticed that it's been kind of weird. And the idea is to try to hold down while you're throwing the key. So as soon as I jump off of it here, if you hold down, it should go a lot less. It should basically drop onto instead of kicking it. So I think I'm actually holding to the right as well. And that's what's causing it to kick it to the right. But if I time it correctly, it doesn't usually matter that much. And so you want to make sure you let go of Y and then re-grab it very quickly after so that you get enough motion to the right. Otherwise, you can kick the key over there and get it to land, but not land back on it. Yeah, This usually isn't that bad. I'm pushing Y way before I'm jumping, so I think that's might be a problem. That's fine. Man, gotta let go of it a lot earlier than that. Okay. Let's stop kicking it to the left. I don't really want to be kicking it if possible. And if I do want to kick it, I want to kick it way early, so that it doesn't go very far. So the other thing to note here is that if you're still holding, you're trying to, you know, hold the run button, Y, and make it over here, but if you're still holding it, you just immediately pick it up while you land, instead of actually landing on the keys. So definitely one of those things where you can... There we go. Alright. Alright, so similar to the other trick there, you can jump off of the key in midair. So you start with a key jump, and then you can jump off of it again when you let go. Hopefully. Like that. And then this, you know, you can throw it up and catch it while you're on a vine. Still carry it around. And then you can also do the same thing here. Throw it up, catch it while we're on the vine. Throw it up, catch it on the vine. So, not too bad. Swimming stuff. I'm not sure how I feel about swimming. I know a lot of people actually hate swimming levels. It's not too bad. It's mostly just finesse. So, you know, holding down makes you swim. You don't bounce up so high when you're actually swimming around, and then just kind of controlling everything is really nice. But a lot of levels will have you do that in conjunction with other stuff, like the next level, which is swimming up fast and then using items and stuff, carrying items while you're swimming around. 27 minutes. I hope I can beat it in an hour. We'll see. I think the later levels, especially like the shell jumping and the caping stuff, I should be pretty good at. Should be better at least. So hopefully I can get through it quickly. I did actually look up the speed run for this. I have not looked it up for any others. I was kind of curious if people actually were speedrunning, and they are, and or somebody has. And it's actually, I think, under 30 minutes, so 29 minutes, I believe, which is pretty crazy. It's not exactly a hard... None of this stuff is hard, but executing it first try is, you know, consistency. I certainly don't have it, but I know a lot of people are very, very good and very consistent. And in this case, you just want to push down B real quick, and you swim through the dolphins and don't get sucked up into the munchers up at the top there. So the water test is a lot of fun. This all is not too bad. And then you get to take the key through this pipe. However, the next section is basically that same key jump off of the munchers. And so, every time I fail, which I usually just try to do one big key jump over, but every time you fail, you get to go pick a new key up and listen to this. That is one really cool thing about these hacks, and all of them so far have been kind of unique. There's a couple of songs that get replayed, but having that custom music on all these levels is really cool. So, there we go. Okay, so turn blocks are kind of fun. Trying to get them to do what you want. In this case, yeah, if you hit the coin, you can see that this one actually turned back around. It doesn't always do it. It seems like most of the time it does, but it's just something to be watching out for, because if you're not paying attention and you end up going and killing the shell or jumping after it, you end up dying to that turtle shell coming back at you and you didn't expect it. And then here we're just trying to get them all across, escorting. Nice spin jump. monitor turn off. I need to disable that. It's a little bit distracting, especially in the middle of stuff. So, one really cool thing, and I'm trying to figure out a way to get it on the stream so that you can see it, but in this hack specifically, at the top left there, you see that there's actually the controller overlay, or what buttons are being pushed at any time, and I think that's really cool. Most hacks don't have that, so a lot of people will just add it as a separate thing, and I've kind of got a really custom setup here. So I am playing on original hardware, so the Super Nintendo is my Super Nintendo from my childhood, and I hooked it up through a scaler. I have a RetroTink 4K, and used it, and actually an RGB cable, SCART cable, and I'm using a Japanese Super Nintendo Super Famicom controller, and so it's kind of a weird setup, but I will be trying to figure out ways to do things like that where I can put a control overlay up. I know it's basically just add a cable in between that sniffs the inputs, and you can then use it for whatever purposes, but for now it's just kind of basic. And I also, this is, as I said, this is my Super Nintendo from my childhood. I hope I'm going to be able to do an RGB mod on a Super Nintendo Junior, and maybe get a little bit crisper picture for some of these later ones. So the goal here is similar to a shell jump, I guess. We're trying to throw the P-switch against the wall and land on it before we actually land at the bottom, and then we can just keep going onto the coins over to the right. I don't quite get the timing on this. The shell jumps I've had to do quite a lot. This one, you know, you sort of just keep doing it until you get it right, but there we go. Too used to failing and having to go chase it down. There we go. I think a lot of this section is the tricky stuff. I might end up skipping the jump, we'll see. I was testing it a little bit earlier today, and I think it is not as bad as I think. I just have to jump a little later. Yeah, so this is P-switch jumps. If I have to skip this one, if I try it a bunch, then I'll just come back to it at the end. So I end up, I think, jumping much earlier. I push the jump button much earlier than I think is necessary. Yeah. So if you kind of wait a little bit extra, that extra little beat, it ends up being a little better. But in this case, what we're trying to do is, there you go, pretty easy. Single frame, basically. You land on the P-switch, it triggers, and then you still have one frame or so to jump off of it. And again, if you're holding Y, like you normally would, you actually end up grabbing it instead of jumping off of it, so definitely needs a little extra control there. So, disco shells are fun. There's a couple of levels where I'm okay at riding them. This is all just kind of the basic training for it. You know, some big jumps, keep it in control. The disco shells are very awkward. They don't like to quite follow you perfectly, so a lot of the other things are also not perfectly following you, but disco shells are really bad. They like to kind of swing around underneath you. So making sure you land on one side or the other and keeping it in control is tricky. There we go. Oh. So I re-grabbed a little bit early there. Instead of jumping high off the shell, you end up floating there. And then you don't get that second bounce. So most of these levels should keep you back at your whatever checkpoint you're at. And so in this case I could just restart back from right where it was. And this one's mostly just a timing thing. I want to get that disco shell at the top to fly off. That was bad. And jump off of it up to the goal. One nice thing here is that you can spin jump off of them to kill them, so in a lot of places they're kind of annoying, and if you just want to get rid of it, spin jumping does kill them. There we go, that's bad. Gotta pick it up. Actually, I think after the 7th section, really we're on the 6th right now. After the 7th section, it's not too bad. So, same idea here, grinder spinning. So the grinders are fixed speed, they're not going to do anything, but you have to adjust back and forth, or either holding down run or not, to make sure that you're staying with the grinder. That actually took me quite a lot of practice, and then it sort of just clicks, and you kind of just get it. So hopefully this is looking good, and the sound is all good. This is the first try. I really don't know anything about recording or streaming. At some point I might be streaming these, live streaming, so that you can actually follow along when I'm kind of beating some of these hacks. But for now I just want to record, especially this stuff that I've already played. I'll just record it and keep it, and most of this is, you know, just to keep it as an archive, as a historical record for how I'm doing on these hacks. But anyways, if you happen to see this and you're curious and you want to follow along, that'd be great. I am really interested in, you know, what hacks I should be playing and what I should be trying, and I know there's a lot of cool stuff out there, so I have kind of a list of stuff I've already prepared and got ready. But if you want to suggest anything, I'd really appreciate it. So this is the perfect example of a disco shell being kind of hard to work with. And then here we want to just bounce off the switch and ride the disco shell to the end, but controlling speed can be tricky for sure. That works. That's one of the cooler levels, I think, and just doing it one shot is really, really neat to watch. The P-switch kind of flick at the beginning there is really fun. Oh, this is all about the Yoshis. Okay, so Yoshi's isn't too bad. So, I think basically like level 1 in Super Mario World, you're taught how to feed the Yoshi, and oh, maybe not the baby Yoshi yet. If you feed him 5 different things, he grows up into a full-size Yoshi. And then you can also use him to jump off and get extra height. So a lot of these tricks are going to be based on, you know, feeding the Yoshi, feeding the baby Yoshi and making him a full-size Yoshi. So here's all the different colors. I think they didn't use this all that much in the main game. Honestly, I never even played Super Mario World recently. It was all when I was, you know, 8, 10 years old. So I've got to follow after that and get all 3 of them to die to the fire. So eating a red shell gives him fire breath, so you breathe fire instead of that. If eating a blue shell or having a blue shell gives you flight, so you get Flappy Yoshi. And then the green shell you can just spit out and have it do stuff. So I am trying to kill Yoshi in all of these. I don't know why, but it's kind of a thing. We kill Yoshis. I mean, we can't take him through the door anyway, so it's fine. He wants to sacrifice. So, there we go. The fun thing about that level was using the Yoshi to bounce and knock the Goomba up into the on-off switch. So, and then the double eat. This is funny. So if you grab something and then quickly flip around, it actually every time you eat, it counts for 2. So in that case, you only need to eat 3 things because it fools the game into thinking you're eating more than you are. So, same stuff. Spring jumping, shell jumping, but this time using a Yoshi. So, too bad. Oh, let's see if I can. There we go. Leave him behind. So, the funny thing that I find most about this game is just all timing. So, every single jump, every single trick is just a little bit different timing, and leaving him behind, I guess, is not really super useful. I probably could have jumped him over the clouds. Yeah, so every trick is just different timing, and trying to get all of them down and get them consistent is the hard part for sure. For some reason, again, this is a timing thing, but for some reason this took me forever. I have a kind of a path. I'm not even sure if it's the right one, but I like to jump off the... There we go. And then hopefully we can get the... Yep, turn around. And I found that sometimes he does not trigger the on-off, so I wait an extra little beat. And then here we can just jump off the Yoshi and win. 29 minutes. Alright, yeah, no, this should be fine. Right about an hour. Unless I get stuck on one of these other tricks. So here we can float with the cape. And that's kind of the goal here. This is a really tight entry for some reason. I think I could probably duck jump with that, but the idea is just using the float of the cape. You definitely can. Loser. For some reason, this is really tricky. Having basically the exact amount of gap that you need, so timing it and getting the heights correct. Usually just sort of re-grab and call it good. And then those turn blocks there will show you after that. Wow. There we go. It was barely there. So, turn blocks can only have 4 spinning at a time, so as soon as you hit a 5th one, it actually stops spinning whatever one was in order. And then the nice thing about flying, you can get a nice little boost there, and then ground pound. One of these hacks later, I plan on doing... So we'll beat this one out. I plan on doing Learn2Kaizo, which I'm not nearly as good at. That will be much more difficult for me, and you can't skip anything. And then I would like to do Learn to Fly or Learning to Fly as a hack, and then the Kaizo Kindergarten as well. So I'll probably get those 4 done, and then we'll start in on the real hacks. But Learning to Fly is really cool. I was really enjoying it when I played through some of that stuff. Timing this, you can actually, they call it pumping, the cape flight. You can actually pump pretty early and get a little extra height on every pump. So you really want to make sure you're timing it properly. The interesting thing is you're not quite popping back up as soon as you hit back. So you kind of have to push it just a tiny little bit early so that you get it. So the nice thing here is we can actually run backwards and still get flight in the right direction. But yeah, I've found flying to be one of the trickier things in the game for sure, but it's really, really rewarding when you get it right, and it looks really cool, because you're kind of just flying around, you don't actually have that much control. I'm not sure how much this game really gets into it, it's kind of the basics of, you know, gliding, and then just controlled flight. The Learn2Kaizo gets into it more, and then Learning to Fly, definitely. There's some really cool looking levels in that. I'll get it. This is not actually as hard as it looks. So, you can get the extra big pumps if you go back. If you're holding down slightly before, you'll actually start into a dive, and then when you pull back, it will kind of launch you back up top. So definitely one of those where you just have to control it. So spin flying is a totally different animal, and you kind of get a little bit of extra time there to let go of the button and still get flight, or still have your flight counter. So you can use it to avoid things. You can also actually run forward and back and hold on, and when you're bouncing off of blocks like that, you end up just kind of sticking to them, which is really cool. So cape cancel is once you're in flights, you can actually hit things and it will cancel your flight, but not have you take damage. So you can use that in a lot of cool ways, like, well, I had to be in flight there, like flying through thwomps. And then when you hold it, you end up actually spinning out the other side. So you can use that as a spin. Minutes. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully I can make it. and this is just sticky flying. So using the Kaizo blocks here, see at the bottom, you can actually end up sticking to it. And I believe that actually worked. I let go because I wasn't going fast enough. Didn't jump early enough. So you end up sticking like that and popping at the other side. Kind of cool. And you can actually stick to just normal surfaces. It's easier to do it with the Kaizo blocks like that. There's a much bigger window where you can actually stick to stuff. But yeah, doing it on normal surfaces isn't really that hard either. It kind of looked like it was, but it doesn't seem that bad. So the gliding shell jump is actually much easier. It seems like you can just sort of wait a lot longer and then throw against the wall, and you end up popping off of it in a much bigger window than a normal shell jump. So turnaround is fun. Every time you're flying, you have to hold Y, otherwise you lose your flight. But if you hit X, you actually end up spinning, and you can turn around. In the normal game, I believe it's only 50% of the time, or like a 50-50 shot of turning around or not. But when you have a ROM hack, you can do all kinds of fun stuff. So they actually patch it so every time you hit X while you're flying, you end up spinning and turning around. And the longer you hold the button, I've noticed, the more speed you get on the other side. So if you just briefly push the button, you kind of end up with the same speed you have going in. But if you hold it down just a little extra, it can slow you down, and you can kind of control yourself that way a little better. And the nice thing is, when you slow down, there's other ways to slow down as well. When you slow down, you can actually gain all your speed back if you just hit forward, whichever direction you're flying. If you hit forward afterward, you can jump right back into full speed. So you can really do some cool precision stuff and going through buckets. That's Learn2Kaizo did a lot of that. So these I've always found a little bit awkward. When the shell is moving pretty fast like that, trying to actually land on it can be tricky. And in this case, we want to also catch that next shell, throw it basically as soon as we can, and then land back on it. And this is the hardest one for me for sure. I might die here many times. Trying to time this correctly to land on it and grab the shell, and then throw it all in one motion, and then land on it on the other end is tricky. And if you don't quite get that first jump right, all of it's just going to be probably want to try to jump off of it as it's coming at me. I find that to be a little bit easier. I don't know why that is, but so I'm going totally random now to see why. A lot of people have told me that the trick on this stuff is, or I guess not people telling me, but what I've watched, is kind of trying to time it to the background or some other marker. So time your jump so that you start running right when it hits a certain spot, and then you can kind of adjust based on that. The interesting thing is you can actually adjust your jump emitter too, so the longer you hold the button, the higher you jump. So if you don't quite hold it as long, you can adjust your timing. And so if you are going to end up being a little bit long or short, you can play with it while you're jumping. So obviously the problem is with all those variables is that if you don't get it right, it just continues to not be right. So it's usually not this hard. I don't usually have this much hard. I will get it. And probably get it first try. The rest of it as soon as I actually get this first jump down. Oh, or overshoot it. Anyways, that's the idea. So as soon as you catch that second shell in the air there, you end up throwing it right away so you can bounce off. Otherwise, you can overshoot that second bucket, or you can launch it off into the middle of nowhere, throw it up, or drop it, not have it spin at all. So, all kinds of fun stuff. And then nudges are really cool. So if you hold down jump and you kind of just bounce slightly off of these, you can get a nice little jump off of it. And you can do it after jumping as well, not just while you're falling. The final trick for this section is actually really, really cool. Maybe 2 or 3 different tricks, but it's as chained together, it looks really cool. So these are the double shells. These are definitely tricky. For some reason, I feel like this double shell, the assisted one, is harder for me now that I kind of have practiced the other non-assisted double shell. But basically, that's the idea. You have a shell in the air, you then grab a shell, jump and throw it, jump off of that, grab the other shell in the air, and then jump off of that one. So the full double shell, which is the next level here, this is a much trickier task, but for whatever reason, as soon as you sort of get them a couple of times, they seem like they're a lot easier. And I've gotten pretty used to just trying to stop it. So let's see, hopefully I can get one without too much fuss here. That second throw, for whatever reason, I found if you wait a lot longer, normally the timing on that first jump is kind of you jump and throw. But the second jump, if you wait until it really is at your peak, it tends to work a lot better. And the other tricky part is getting this first throw pretty good. You want to be able to have it in a position where it's easy to catch after that first jump. So, easy to catch and then throw right against the wall, so you're not trying to adjust too much after that. Yeah, something like that. So that wasn't all that high. The 2Learn2Kaizo has a double shell jump that's much taller than that, and you actually have to do it after a couple of other tricks, so it ends up being a lot of fun trying to get it. But the more you practice it, the easier it seems to get for sure. So in this case, we want to just go backwards, and the longer you hold back, the more you lose momentum, so you really just want to kind of flick it so you can get over to the next jump. So, I think I'm trying to throw it too late, or waiting too long, or holding back too much. But yeah, we need to make sure that we're over far enough so that we can have that guy kick us the next shell. And then the third bounce will be right off of his head. I think I'm waiting way too long. Yeah. There we go. Huh. Almost too good. Cool. That third bounce is always weird. I just hold the button down to jump. You could actually let go and jump a lot lower, and that would give you a little bit more even spacing. But as long as you can make it, I think it's worth it. I'm not sure what the dog decided he wanted to bark at, but that'll probably happen quite a bit. So these special colored shells, I think they're normally just green, but these gray ones in this game, you can actually bounce off of twice. They won't stop. It allows you to bounce off of it again. So here it's just a timing thing. I want to make that second bounce a nice big one, so timing the re-grab, timing the jump. There we go. And this, we're doing basically the same thing, except the first bounce is going to be jumping off of it here as a shell jump. Hopefully I can get it without too much hassle. There we go. I've had a lot of issues with that middle jump. So you shell jump and then you jump over. He's supposed to kick the turtle up into you, but for some reason I'll just fall right through the turtle and then hit the shell as the second, and then it doesn't continue on, so you can get that third jump. Might just be a timing problem or whatever. But so this is a really cool looking trick. I kind of want this first one to be a non-assisted, but you end up doing kind of all the different tricks in the other section, chaining all together, and I think it looks really cool. I'm really glad I did it first try too. Alright, so then we just have a few levels left. There's kind of the specialized stuff. So motor skills is a really cool piece of the hack. So you can actually change your jump in midair. So you can change from a spin jump to a normal jump while you're in the air. And the cool thing about that is you can do, like in this case, we want to bounce very low off these first 4, and then we want a full jump off the last one. So you time it, you can spin jump off the first 4 and just kill them as you're going down, and then do a regular jump off the last one to get to the goal. That's a very, very, very brief introduction to it, I'm sure. So multi-jump, this is just double jumping. I don't know that there's a lot of things that use it. I've seen some hacks that use it as a kind of a special trigger. So every time you land, you get a second jump, or every time you hit a certain object, you get a second jump. But in this case, you can just double jump from the ground. Timing this has always been really awkward. You want to get as much momentum as possible, just past that launcher, and then make sure you get low so you can do that second jump and make it up. It really shouldn't be that hard. I don't know. Once I'm off the screen, it's like timing is crazy for some reason. And then the last one here is controlling on-offs. So in this level, you actually can control these on-offs. Instead of with the box, normally having to hit it, you just control it with L and R. So if you push L or R, it just changes. And then if I don't push L or R here, you'd fall right off the edge. So the cool thing is you can actually control it during the end sequence. And then we got one more level. So the final castle here. Combines everything we've done, so into one big long chain. I practiced this a little bit more than the rest of the levels. Number one, it's harder, and so getting some of these tricks down has been fun, but hopefully I can get through these pretty quickly. So just do a little shell nudge there. Make sure we get a nice spin jump off of that. That was pretty easy. Landing in between those munchers can be a pain sometimes. So let me just control our flight here for the second screen. Sticky fly. This has always been awkward for me. Oh, yeah, never mind. So that shell jump at the end, for some reason, has always been kind of a sticky spot. The rest of it's not too bad. And then this screen is just really cool, combining kind of all of it. And then if we can get the timing here, there we go. Easy. So not too bad. 5750, we'll call it. Put that on my list. We'll run through the credits real quick. I'll get better at this, I'm sure. Hopefully I can control the timer. I can actually get realistic times for these. And make sure that I'm doing all the exits as well. I believe in this case we got 69. Nice. So, just so many people go into these hacks, and then all the call-outs and everything's really cool. So there you go. That's my first one done. I'll try to get some more of these, and then I'll get them posted. We'll keep them coming on YouTube, and see how it goes. So, thanks for watching. We'll see you.